Testosterone is highest in the morning, but what you do in the first hour after waking up can either support that peak or slowly suppress it over time. Low testosterone is not only about age. It is strongly influenced by sleep, stress regulation, insulin sensitivity, body fat distribution, and circadian rhythm. And all of these systems are affected by morning behavior. The first mistake many men make is immediately checking their phone. When you wake up, your body naturally produces a rise in cortisol. This is called the cortisol awakening response. It is not harmful. It is designed to wake you up, increase alertness, and prepare your body for activity. However, when the first thing you do is open social media, read stressful news, or respond to messages, you amplify the stress response. Dopamine spikes, sympathetic nervous system activation increases, and psychological stress begins before your body has stabilized. Chronic overstimulation contributes to elevated baseline cortisol. Persistently high cortisol suppresses the hypothalamic, pituitary, gonadal axis, the hormonal system responsible for testosterone production. Over time, stress signaling interferes with luteinizing hormone output, which directly affects testosterone synthesis in the testes. Protecting the first 20 to 30 minutes of your morning from digital stress protects hormonal stability. The second mistake is avoiding natural morning light. Testosterone follows a circadian rhythm. It rises during sleep and peaks in the early morning. This rhythm is regulated by light exposure through the eyes. When natural light hits the retina, it suppresses melatonin and helps synchronize cortisol timing and downstream hormonal signaling. If you wake up and remain in a dim environment, your circadian rhythm becomes blunted. Circadian disruption is associated with lower testosterone levels, poorer sleep quality, and metabolic dysfunction. Just 5 to 10 minutes outside in natural daylight, without sunglasses, helps anchor your hormonal rhythm. Light exposure is not just about mood. It is endocrine regulation. The third mistake is starting the day with high sugar or refined carbohydrates. A breakfast composed of sweet tea, white bread, sugary cereals, or fruit juice causes a rapid spike in blood glucose. The body responds with a strong insulin release. When this pattern is repeated daily, insulin resistance begins to develop. Insulin resistance is strongly associated with lower testosterone levels. It contributes to increased visceral fat accumulation. Visceral fat tissue contains the enzyme aromatase, which converts testosterone into estradiol. The more visceral fat you carry, the more conversion occurs. In addition, unstable glucose leads to energy crashes, cravings, and chronic inflammation, all factors that negatively influence hormonal balance. A better morning meal prioritizes protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Protein supports muscle tissue and metabolic rate. Stable blood sugar supports stable hormones. The fourth mistake is drinking coffee immediately after waking. Cortisol naturally peaks within 30 to 45 minutes after waking up. If caffeine is consumed immediately, it exaggerates the cortisol spike. While this may temporarily increase alertness, repeated overstimulation can dysregulate stress rhythms. Long-term stress dysregulation interferes with gonadotropin-releasing hormone production, which ultimately influences testosterone synthesis. Delaying caffeine by about 60 to 90 minutes allows your natural cortisol rhythm to function properly. Energy becomes more stable throughout the day, and dependence on stimulants may decrease. The fifth mistake is complete inactivity in the morning. Testosterone levels are closely tied to metabolic health. Sedentary behavior contributes to insulin resistance, increased inflammatory cytokines, and reduced nitric oxide production. Even a short session of movement, push-ups, squats, light stretching, or a brisk walk, improves insulin sensitivity and blood flow. Nitric oxide production improves vascular function, which is essential not only for cardiovascular health, but also for erectile function. Movement sends a biological signal that the body is required to be strong and functional. The endocrine system responds to demand. The sixth and perhaps most underestimated factor is chronic sleep restriction. Testosterone production primarily occurs during sleep, especially during deep and REM phases. When sleep duration drops to 5 or 6 hours consistently, testosterone levels decline measurably. Even 1 week of sleep restriction can reduce daytime testosterone by 10 to 15%. Morning fatigue is often not a caffeine deficiency. It is a sleep deficiency. A flattened morning testosterone peak often reflects inadequate recovery. Improving sleep duration and quality restores hormonal rhythm more effectively than most supplements. Finally, chronic psychological stress carried into the morning compounds all of these factors. Ongoing stress increases cortisol, promotes visceral fat storage, disrupts insulin sensitivity, and suppresses reproductive hormone signaling. Testosterone does not decline suddenly. It declines when stress remains high, sleep remains short, glucose remains unstable, and movement remains minimal. Many men assume low testosterone is an unavoidable consequence of aging. In reality, lifestyle patterns, especially repeated daily patterns, strongly influence hormonal health. The first hour after waking is not just time passing. It is biological signaling. Light exposure signals rhythm. Movement signals strength. Stable glucose signals metabolic control. Calmness signals safety. Sleep signals recovery. When these signals are consistent, testosterone regulation improves. When they are chronically disrupted, hormonal decline accelerates. Protecting your morning is not about productivity. It is about endocrine health. Small daily corrections, repeated over months and years, determine long-term hormonal outcomes far more than occasional extreme interventions. Testosterone responds to biology, not motivation, and biology responds to daily habits.